In a world where attention is loud, where voices are raised to be heard, and where performance often takes the place of presence, there exists a kind of man who moves differently. He's not the first to speak in the room, nor is he the one rushing to be seen. And yet, somehow, when he passes by, people remember. There is a quiet gravity about him, a calm that unsettles and intrigues at the same time. This man is the Sigma male. He does not chase recognition, but recognition often finds him. He does not dress to impress, yet his natural simplicity leaves a mark. And without realizing it, women often notice things about him that he himself never pays attention to. You see, Sigma males are not focused on being observed. They live with intention, not exhibition. They prefer depth over display and authenticity over applause. But it is often in the unnoticed details, in the pauses, in the stillness, in the subtle gestures that their presence becomes magnetic. Women, who are naturally attentive to detail, often catch these nuances. They notice things that Sigma males overlook because for him these are simply byproducts of who he is, not calculated strategies to attract or impress. Today we will explore 6 such things, 6 details that Sigma males have no idea women observe, yet which make a profound difference in how they are perceived. So settle into this moment, breathe slowly. Let this not be another rush of information, but a gentle reflection on the subtleties of masculinity. Because sometimes it is in the quietest details that the loudest truths are revealed. Number 1, his natural composure. Women often notice how Sigma males remain calm in situations where others are restless. This steady composure is not an act, but a reflection of inner discipline, independence, and self-trust. Imagine being in a crowded airport security line where tensions rise, sighs fill the air, and people shuffle impatiently. While most grow restless, a Sigma male quietly observes, unbothered, as though he is untouched by the chaos around him. This quality draws attention because calmness has become rare in a world that thrives on urgency and overstimulation. Psychologists note that such composure often stems from self-regulation, the ability to manage stress responses without external reassurance. Studies in emotional intelligence show that individuals who maintain calm under pressure are perceived as more reliable, trustworthy, and competent. Women naturally pick up on these signals, often interpreting them as signs of quiet strength. This calm energy is not born overnight. It is cultivated. Sigma males, by nature, detach from the need to prove themselves to others. Their independence means they trust their ability to handle whatever comes without relying heavily on external validation. Research on autonomy and personality psychology suggests that people who prioritize self-direction often experience lower levels of anxiety and frustration because they are not enslaved to constant approval. This independence fuels their composure, making them less reactive and more grounded. In conversation, for instance, while others rush to fill silence with nervous chatter, the Sigma can simply listen. His steady presence communicates attentiveness without strain, which often makes women feel both respected and intrigued. What makes this even more fascinating is how contagious composure can be. A calm person influences the emotional state of those around them. Neuroscientists describe this through emotional contagion, the phenomenon where people unconsciously mirror the emotions of those near them. A Sigma's unshaken demeanor becomes a stabilizing force in groups, something women notice and often admire because it reflects leadership without domination. In relationships, this calm strength translates into stability, a quality many find rare and valuable. Where others might react impulsively to stress, the Sigma responds with measured patience, making him a source of security. Ultimately, his composure is not about appearing perfect, but about trusting himself enough to face uncertainty without panic. It is this inner assurance that women find magnetic. In a restless world, the man who can stand still becomes unforgettable, not because he seeks attention, but because his quiet confidence naturally commands it. Number 2, the way he listens. Most men hear. Sigma males listen. There's a subtle but profound difference between these two. Hearing is passive. It's simply the brain registering sound waves. Listening, on the other hand, is an active engagement. It requires presence, patience, and genuine attention. This is where Sigma males stand out without even realizing it. Women notice that when a Sigma is with them, he gives his full focus. He doesn't rush to fill silences or jump in with quick responses. Instead, he allows the moment to breathe. His calm patience communicates something deeper than words. It tells her that he values the exchange, that he's not distracted, and that he respects the weight of her thoughts. Psychologists have long studied the impact of listening on human connection. Research in interpersonal communication shows that people feel more validated and secure when they sense they are truly being listened to, not just heard. This explains why Sigma males often leave such a strong impression in relationships. They don't employ flashy words or exaggerated gestures, but their silence, their steady eye contact, and their undivided attention become powerful signals of presence. In fact, studies reveal that active listening can lower stress levels in others, as it gives them a sense of being understood and accepted. A Sigma, whether he intends to or not, often becomes a grounding presence because of this natural ability. What makes this more striking is that Sigma males don't treat listening as a strategy or a performance. For them, it's simply a way of existing in the world. Unlike men who might dominate conversations to establish authority or charm, Sigmas understand the quiet power of restraint. They're not afraid of silence because they know silence often speaks louder than words. Women pick up on this difference immediately. They notice that with a Sigma, conversations feel less like battles for attention and more like shared spaces of trust. Culturally, listening has always been associated with wisdom. Ancient traditions, from the Stoics of Greece to Eastern philosophies, emphasize that listening is a path to understanding, empathy, and harmony. Modern psychology echoes this truth, describing listening as a cornerstone of emotional intelligence, a trait often linked to strong leaders, thinkers, and innovators. Sigma males embody this effortlessly, which is why their interactions often feel both calming and unforgettable. In a noisy world where everyone is eager to be heard, the Sigma male's quiet patience becomes magnetic. Women don't just hear his words. They feel the weight of his silence, the steadiness of his presence, and the rare gift of being listened to without distraction. And that, more than anything, sets him apart. Number 3, his subtle confidence. Unlike flashy displays of ego, his confidence is understated. He walks with purpose, speaks only when needed, and women notice that strength does not always need volume. This quality may seem subtle, but it carries incredible weight. History, psychology, and even evolutionary science back up the idea that quiet confidence is far more influential than loud bravado. For centuries, societies have associated calm authority with leadership. Consider the samurai of Japan, trained warriors who mastered not only combat but also discipline and restraint. Their power was not found in shouting or boasting, but in deliberate movements, posture, and presence. Similarly, Roman Stoics like Marcus Aurelius taught that true strength comes from self-mastery, not outward noise. Modern psychology confirms this. Studies show that people are naturally drawn to those who exhibit non-verbal dominance, steady eye contact, controlled gestures, and measured speech. These cues signal self-assurance and security without arrogance. Women in particular are wired to notice these subtle behaviors. From an evolutionary perspective, quiet confidence suggests reliability, focus, and emotional stability, traits far more valuable than empty charm. A man who doesn't feel the need to constantly prove himself demonstrates that he already knows his worth. This creates an aura of mystery, and mystery often sparks attraction. There's also a practical side to understated strength. In everyday life, men who rush to dominate conversations or flaunt their status can come across as insecure. In contrast, the one who speaks less but says more holds attention when he finally chooses to speak. This aligns with the old saying, "Still waters run deep." Just as a river's quiet surface hides immense depth and power, a Sigma male's silence suggests untapped strength and wisdom beneath. Women notice when a man isn't pressured by the room to perform. Instead, his calm focus reveals that he moves to his own rhythm, a rhythm that others instinctively respect. This does not mean he avoids communication, rather he uses it intentionally. Neuroscience suggests that humans naturally trust individuals who display congruence between their body language and their words. Because Sigma males do not scatter their energy through unnecessary speech, their words often carry more impact. In a noisy world, silence itself becomes a kind of power. And when that silence is paired with purpose-driven action, it becomes unforgettable. Women sense this, even if they cannot always articulate it. His strength is quiet, but it leaves echoes that linger long after he has walked away. Number 4, his independence. Sigma males often overlook how appealing their self-sufficiency truly is. In a world where so many people crave validation, the man who walks confidently on his own path seems almost otherworldly. Women notice this. They see the quiet way he moves through life without asking for approval, and whether he realizes it or not, that very autonomy radiates strength. Psychologists suggest that independence is one of the most attractive traits in a partner because it signals emotional stability and security. A man who does not need constant reassurance is viewed as more reliable, more grounded, and far less likely to lose himself in the shifting moods of others. Self-sufficiency at its core is more than financial independence or the ability to live alone. It's about inner confidence. Women pick up on how Sigma males carry themselves, the relaxed posture, the unhurried decisions, and the lack of desperation in conversation. Research in social dynamics shows that humans are naturally drawn to individuals who exhibit what is known as non-reactive confidence. This means they are not easily swayed by external pressure or trends. And that steadiness creates a natural aura of leadership, even if the Sigma is not consciously trying to lead. What makes this even more fascinating is that Sigma males rarely see it in themselves. For them, living independently is simply a way of life, not a strategy to impress. They prefer solitude when needed, manage their own responsibilities, and take pride in not leaning too heavily on others. Yet from the outside, this becomes magnetic. In evolutionary psychology, autonomy is linked to resourcefulness, and resourcefulness has always been a signal of survival strength. Without saying a word, a Sigma communicates that he can thrive without being carried, and that assurance speaks volumes to those around him. This independence also creates an unspoken respect. When a man doesn't rush to gain approval, he quietly commands it instead. It's a paradox. By not seeking validation, he receives it in abundance. Women especially notice how rare this is, as many men often try too hard to impress. The Sigma male's ability to be content within himself and to navigate life with quiet determination makes him stand out. His self-sufficiency becomes an invisible crown, one he doesn't flaunt but wears naturally. And while he may never fully grasp how captivating this is to others, it remains one of the strongest, most admired qualities that set him apart. Number 5, the details of his style. He may not be obsessed with fashion, but women often notice the simplicity of his choices. Neat, functional, minimal. What seems like an afterthought to him often communicates something far more powerful. Simplicity in clothing has long been linked to discipline, clarity, and a focused mind. Psychologists studying first impressions note that people subconsciously associate minimal style with traits like self-control, intelligence, and reliability. This isn't about wearing expensive brands or chasing seasonal trends. Rather, it's about the quiet consistency of someone who doesn't feel the need to shout through their wardrobe. For a Sigma male, this comes naturally. His shirt may be plain and his shoes practical, but together they reflect a life that's free from unnecessary noise. Interestingly, research on enclothed cognition suggests that the clothes we wear can influence not only how others perceive us, but also how we feel about ourselves. Minimal clothing often fosters a sense of calm and confidence, as there's less distraction and fewer decisions to make. Albert Einstein, for example, famously wore similar outfits every day to save his mental energy for more important tasks. In the same way, when a Sigma male embraces simplicity, it signals efficiency. His priorities are elsewhere. Women who tend to notice details that men overlook often pick up on this subtle discipline. To them, it's not about whether his clothes are trendy, but about what his choices reveal. A man who is grounded, intentional, and unburdened by the need for validation. Sociologists have also pointed out that minimalism in dress is tied to authenticity. When someone isn't trying too hard to impress, it usually means they're comfortable in their own skin. For Sigma males, this is particularly true. They don't measure their worth in outward appearance, but in their independence, self-mastery, and inner growth. Ironically, this authenticity makes them more magnetic. While flashy outfits can draw attention in the short term, quiet consistency creates an aura of stability that many women find deeply attractive. It communicates trustworthiness without words. There's also a practical side. Functional clothing, neat, simple, and durable, reflects an uncluttered lifestyle. Research into minimalism shows that people who reduce excess possessions often report lower stress and higher satisfaction with life. A wardrobe stripped down to essentials is not just efficient, but also mirrors a mind trained to cut through distraction. This mental discipline is what women often admire most. They see in his minimal fashion a reflection of something bigger, a man who doesn't live chaotically, who values order, and who has his priorities straight. So while a Sigma male may never spend hours debating which tie goes with which shirt, his understated choices tell a story women instinctively notice. In his simplicity, they see freedom. In his minimalism, they see strength. And in his lack of obsession with fashion, they see a mind that is uncluttered, disciplined, and quietly magnetic. It's not fashion for fashion's sake, it's fashion as a mirror of the man himself. Number 6, his silence. Silence is often misunderstood in today's world. Many see it as awkward, uncomfortable, or even a weakness. But in reality, silence can be one of the most powerful forms of communication. Sigma males in particular have mastered this art. Unlike men who feel the need to dominate conversations or constantly prove themselves through words, Sigma males understand that silence speaks louder than noise. Their ability to remain calm, collected, and at ease in moments when others rush to fill the air leaves a lasting impression, especially on women who are often far more observant of subtle behaviors than men realize. When a man does not feel pressured to speak, it reveals confidence. Studies in psychology show that people often equate silence with authority, composure, and mystery. This is why leaders, negotiators, and even interrogators use silence strategically. It creates space for others to reveal themselves. Women notice this about Sigma males. The quiet does not mean emptiness. It means depth. It suggests that the man is thoughtful, comfortable in his own presence, and not dependent on external validation. In fact, research in nonverbal communication highlights that silence can enhance perceived intelligence, since listeners interpret pauses as signs of reflection rather than ignorance. This comfort with silence also has biological roots. Human beings evolved to rely heavily on social cues for survival, and women in particular developed sharper skills in reading facial expressions, tone, and subtle gestures. When a Sigma male sits in silence, women don't just hear the absence of words, they read into the stillness. They notice the way his eyes wander, the calmness in his body language, and the steady rhythm of his breathing. These nonverbal signals often communicate more sincerity and stability than words ever could. Culturally, too, silence has long been linked to wisdom. Ancient Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius emphasized restraint in speech, noting that unnecessary words often reveal more weakness than strength. Religious texts across traditions highlight the value of being slow to speak and quick to listen. Sigma males embody this principle almost naturally. They don't perform for approval, and this detachment makes their quietness magnetic. Women pick up on the fact that when he does finally speak, his words carry weight, intention, and substance, precisely because they're not wasted. What makes this especially fascinating is that silence also creates an aura of mystery. In a world where most people overshare, a man who withholds becomes intriguing. Women are naturally curious about what lies behind that stillness. Is he reflecting on something profound? Is he simply comfortable in his own skin? That uncertainty becomes attractive because mystery fuels imagination. These 6 traits are not things a Sigma puts on display for approval. They are simply part of who he is. And yet women notice, quietly, subtly, deeply. Unlike other personality types who thrive on validation, the Sigma male walks through life with little concern for how others perceive him. His choices, habits, and behaviors are not crafted to attract attention, but rather to satisfy his own inner compass. Still, these understated qualities rarely go unnoticed by the people around him, especially women who are naturally attuned to subtleties and detail. Psychologists have long noted that humans, especially women, are highly observant of micro-expressions, body language, and consistency in behavior. In fact, research shows that more than 55% of communication is nonverbal. That means people pick up on things even when no words are spoken. For Sigma males, this works in their favor, though they rarely realize it. A calm demeanor during chaos, a quiet confidence in decision-making, or the way he maintains his independence without arrogance, all of these elements become silent markers of intrigue. Women, in particular, are often drawn to these unnoticed details because they hint at stability and authenticity. For example, the way a Sigma maintains eye contact without overdoing it suggests self-assurance rather than performance, or the way he listens more than he speaks indicates depth, which contrasts with the noise of those constantly seeking the spotlight. Studies in evolutionary psychology suggest that subtle displays of independence and competence are more attractive long-term indicators of strength and reliability than flashy behavior. The irony is that the Sigma male himself often overlooks these traits. To him, they are simply normal, nothing extraordinary, nothing worth analyzing, but that is precisely why they stand out. In a world where so many strive to prove themselves, the absence of effort becomes magnetic. The Sigma's natural state, free from the pressure of performance, is what makes him unforgettable. Sometimes it is the very things we take for granted in ourselves that others remember the most. His silence becomes strength, his stillness becomes presence, and his authenticity becomes a mirror reflecting what others deeply crave but seldom find.